The quiet North Shore town of Pupkia, Hawaii, discovered a sinister secret on December 7, 2017. That day, a terrible incident rocked the charming suburb. This is the tale of Telma Boinville, a devoted 51-year-old teacher who had an ordinary life until she took a part-time job cleaning a vacation rental. She was unaware that the ordinary day she was living would become a nightmare that would alter the lives of those around her. The renters found her dead at a vacation rental on Keiki Road. The community was engulfed in a web of unsolved questions, fear, and a search for the truth as information came to light. How did a regular teacher named Telma Boinville come to a terrifying end in a quiet Hawaiian town? What startling disclosures are in store? Was it murder or just an accident that claimed her life? Thank you for returning to Mystery Detective, where we delves into the shadowing mysteries surrounding both resolved and unresolved cases. Pupkia, a charming village located in the Kalaua district on Hawaii's North Shore, unavoidably influenced Telma Boinville's life. The word Pupkia in Hawaiian refers to a white shell, perfectly capturing its spotless surroundings. Pupkia is well known for having stunning beaches that draw surfers and beachgoers. Sharks Cove and Three Tables are also excellent sites for diving and snorkeling. The town is quiet, but Telma's life was brutally altered at Pupkia because she had to provide for her family, and it had a lasting impact on the community. Telma Boinville was well known to the residents of Hawaii's North Shore as a devoted teacher and a devoted mother. On February 4, 1966, she was born in a small Brazilian town. Her curiosity and love of learning remained defining characteristics of her personality throughout her life. Telma started working as a teacher at Sunset Beach Elementary School. She wanted to help her children and others. She understood that education was important for developing young brains. Telma believed that her ministry was education. Her colleagues respected her for her dedication to teaching children. Her classroom gradually supported and nurtured developing minds in a kind and supportive manner. According to her co-workers, Telma was a committed educator who went above and beyond to support her students' success. Telma's first concern was her family. She supported her family even though teaching was her career. By working part-time as a cleaner for vacation rentals on the North Shore, this proved her dedication to her family and her unwavering work ethic. After she married Kevin Emery, Telma had a daughter named McKenna, who was very important to her. She had McKenna as a child, friend, and confidant. Their intimate bond revealed Telma's unrestricted love and maternal disposition. McKenna looked to her mother for support and guidance. Her presence, generosity, and love for her family and students changed the town irrevocably. Sadly, she was unaware of the shocking and disastrous turn fate had in store for her. Beneath North Shore Hawaii's picture-perfect exterior lay a horrifying and unanticipated tragedy. Teacher Telma Boinville was a hard worker. She relished the peace and quiet of North Shore. She had a second job cleaning vacation homes in the area to help support her family. She arrived at a holiday house on Keiki Road, an ordinary neighborhood that had grown infamous for its terror. This idyllic scene was upended in the most unexpected way, all without Telma knowing. While McKenna, her 8-year-old daughter, slept outside in the family car, Telma had cleaning duties for the vacation rental. Inexplicable violence was experienced by Telma Boinville in the vacation rental. When she got there, Stephen Brown and his girlfriend, Haley Denderand, were breaking and entering the rental house. Telma's life was rocked by an awful incident that transpired on a typical work day. She tried to fight off the intruders, but as the fight grew more intense, Telma took a serious blow to the head. On the serene North Shore, there was an unexplained violent act. In the peace of the vacation home, Telma fought for her life in a horrific battle before passing away. The violence was indicated by chilling blunt force injuries to her skull. She left behind a spooky pool of blood as a testament to the brutality that had claimed her life. Even there, the terror persisted. Her 8-year-old daughter McKenna was oblivious to the darkness. She had always looked forward to her mother's return. Her peace was short-lived, as the evil criminals, Haley Denderend and Stephen Brown, started focusing on McKenna. In the vacation rental, she was restrained and placed under a gag, sending her into a nightmare that no child should ever go through. Her world of innocence and trust was shattered. The gorgeous Hawaiian light that had filled the car she was waiting in was replaced by the blackness of her kidnapper's hatred. McKenna was deceived and cruelly restrained and silenced by Haley Denderend and Stephen Brown. They brutally informed the young girl that Telma Boinville, her mother, had been killed. McKenna's innocence was cruelly shattered as her world fell apart. This horrible tale of violence and deceit featured another horrifying episode in which McKenna was abducted and fed with cruel lies. Telma Boinville was killed by Stephen Brown and Haley Denderend, who also severely injured her. After the incident was reported at around 3:20 p.m. local time, officers investigating at the vacation home on Keiki Road in Northshore, Hawaii, found Telma Boinville's lifeless body. Telma was the victim of a horrifying assassination. An extensive investigation to find justice was spurred by the case of Telma Boinville and the kidnapping of her daughter, McKenna. That day, a distress call that was received by law enforcement, including the Honolulu Police Department, changed many lives. When police arrived at the vacation rental on Keiki Road, they discovered a horrible tragedy. Inside the rental, they discovered Telma Boinville dead. Blood stains and fight-related debris painted a bleak picture of what had occurred inside. An extensive examination of the crime scene preceded the investigation. Forensic experts who searched the vacation rental painstakingly recorded every piece of evidence. The main objective was to reconstruct McKenna's kidnapping and Telma's case. A key piece of evidence from the scene was the blunt force damage to Telma's head. This graphic detail brought the severity of the crime to light. After searching the area for witnesses, investigators spoke to McKenna. As she described that tragic day, professionals, including child psychologists, were called in to protect her mental health. McKenna's story was written down in case it held any clues to the mystery's solution. Her recollections of the perpetrators, their actions, and their horrific deceit strengthened the case. Telma's brother-in-law, American big wave surfer Garrett McNamara, set the world record for the largest wave. McNamara was the first person to negotiate a Jaws barrel and ride a glacier wave. Because of his name and Guinness World Records, he had a sizable fan base on social media. After surfer Garrett McNamara made a passionate Facebook video and offered a sizable reward for the suspect's capture, things took a turn for the better. In the video, McNamara, who claimed to be related to Telma Boinville's daughter, made a $100,000 offer to anyone with information about the horrific murder that occurred on Keiki Beach in North Shore, Hawaii. His fervent appeal became widely shared on social media. He encouraged others to come forward with information by offering a sizable prize. By signing this petition, you helped bring attention to the need to solve the case and bring the offenders to justice. Numerous people submitted leads, tips, and information regarding the incident after McNamara's video went viral and increased public awareness. Law enforcement was greatly aided in locating and apprehending the offenders by this information. The justice process was initiated by law enforcement. In an attempt to apprehend the culprits as soon as possible, the Honolulu Police Department launched a comprehensive investigation. Important hints were discovered at the vacation home on Keiki Road, where the culprit was apprehended. Detectives investigating the crime scene methodically examined the vacation home for signs of the murderer. To build a case against the offender, they painstakingly gathered forensic evidence, including DNA fingerprints. The investigation proceeded, and the puzzle pieces fell into place. Witnesses, such as McKenna, Telma's daughter, assisted in reconstructing the incidents. The culprit was exposed by McKenna's horrifying account of her mother's murder and captivity. The investigation was aided by kind people, growing media coverage, and McNamara's offer of the hefty prize, which resulted in the capture of Stephen Brown and Unidentified, the murderers. One of the main suspects in the murder of Telma Boinville was Stephen Brown. His involvement in the tragic burglary and his presence at the crime scene implicated him. Following forensic evidence, witness statements, and investigations, just 7 hours later, on December 8, 2017, Stephen Brown was taken into custody for justice. The community was rocked by the arrest once more, but this time it came with a promise to hold the perpetrators accountable. As the investigation went on, Stephen Brown's testimony shed light on that very fateful day. Brown claimed that before going through an open window to enter the vacation property, he and Danduran consumed marijuana. Danduran told Telma to lie down so they could bind her when she came in. Investigators had doubts about Brown's testimony. Telma's injuries and his bloody clothes did not point to self-defense. Brown's terrifying story was at odds with McKenna's. Scott Bell, the deputy prosecutor, was confident that Telma Boinville could only be subdued by Brown. McKenna's statement that Brown told her they killed her mother was undermining the investigation that was conducted. A complex web of violence, betrayal, and sorrow in the peaceful Northshore. As the jigsaw pieces started to fit together, justice appeared to be just around the corner. The horrific murderer, Stephen Brown, had a violent past and a turbulent background. His early legal issues presented a depressing picture of a young man on a terrible path. Given Brown's violent criminal past, concerns about his potential for aggression are warranted. Detectives looking into his background were suspicious of this path. Unidentified, Brown's girlfriend at the time of the crime, was an enigmatic 1997 born. At the time of the crime, she was 20 years old. Many were confused by Danduran's role in the horrific events of that day. Following a trial, Stephen Brown was found guilty of 2 kidnappings, murder, and burglary. His punishment was the first of the consequences of his actions. Telma Boinville, a dedicated teacher and part-time cleaner, passed away horribly in a vacation rental on December 7, 2017. The hunt for justice and accountability was altered by the arrest of her killer, Stephen Brown. After the arrest, the legal procedures started. Utilizing witness accounts, evidence from the crime scene, and McKenna's horrifying account, the prosecution assembled a compelling case. When the crime was revealed, the courtroom turned into a battle for justice and the truth. After a 6-year trial that depicted the grisly killings and the events of that terrible day, the jury made its decision. Following a heated courtroom, Stephen Brown was found guilty of assassination, kidnapping, and burglary. The Northshore community and Telma Boinville's family experienced closure. Stephen Brown's conviction marked the start of his legal journey. Despite knowing he would probably live out the rest of his days behind bars, he accepted his fate. Justice was carried out. The atrocity would leave a scar on Telma's family and the community. Following a 2-week trial that enthralled the nation and the Northshore, the courtroom was filled with heated anticipation. A jury consisting of 12 members with diverse backgrounds rendered a verdict on Friday, January 20, 2023. The jury had to determine if the people involved in the killing, the kidnapping, and the burglary were guilty or not. Less than 30 minutes into the trial, the jury's verdict altered the case. Stephen Brown, who was found guilty of several charges, was recognized as having a significant part in the tragic events of that December day. In addition to Brown's killing conviction, his allegations included 2 kidnappings, 1 burglary, and a second-degree killing. He was, however, sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The court was struck by the judgment. The prosecution methodically built its case, presenting testimony and supporting documentation that painted a horrifying picture of what transpired at the vacation house on Keiki Road. Deputy Prosecutor Scott Bell stated with conviction that Haley Denderend and Stephen Brown killed Telma Boinville. According to the prosecution, Brown could physically restrain Telma. While vehemently denying any involvement in the murder, the defense argued that Stephen Brown was responsible for the break-in and kidnapping. William Bagasol, Brown's court-appointed council member, emphasized in the tragedy the distinctions between Brown and his girlfriend Haley Denderend. Bagasol explained in a methodical manner that Haley had no blood and that she had tied Telma up. Additionally, he didn't think that Brown and the weapons used to kill Telma were linked by DNA. Courtrooms served as both emotional theaters and arenas for conflicting narratives. The town, shocked by the horrific murder of Telma Boinville, watched the trial and the outcome with bated breath. Telma Boinville and her family achieved a significant turning point in their quest for justice following Stephen Brown's conviction. The trial cleared the way for the trial of Haley Denderend, the second suspect in the case, and provided closure to a terrified community. Haley Denderend's trial commenced in July 2023. After a month of deliberation, she was convicted of burglary, kidnapping, and murder. The jury sentenced her to life in prison with the possibility of parole. The Northshore community exhaled with relief following the judgment, knowing that a trying chapter of their journey had come to an end. But the suffering of Telma Boinville and her daughter McKenna will always serve as a reminder of the evil that can exist even in the best of circumstances. The community kept an eye on the legal proceedings to ensure that the victims of this horrific act received justice. The Northshore neighborhood and Telma Boinville's family experienced closure following Stephen Brown and Haley Denderend's trial. After years of pain, uncertainty, and unsettling memories of December 2017, justice was served. After losing their teacher and mother, the family took solace in the sentencing. To this day, Telma Boinville remains a symbol of perseverance and the persistence of justice seekers. Truth-seeking and resiliency, not victimization, are what Telma stands for. Despite the shortness of her life, her legacy pays tribute to those who struggle for justice despite unfathomable hardship. What are your thoughts on this case? Leave a comment with your well wishes for the Boinville family.
A Loleta resident went boating on the Eel River with his son on March 27, 1998, in search of driftwood. Unexpectedly, they came across human remains close to Cork Robin Island. The body was half-dressed and had been submerged for a considerable amount of time. No ID was discovered. They quickly informed the police about the discovery without further delay. Who was this person, and how did they get into the river? The city of Loleta in California has a distinct atmosphere. It is a location where the bustling of daily life coexists with the whispers of the ocean. This town has a distinctive blend for both residents and visitors, offering both recreational and historic spots. You'll notice a sense of community if you leave here. People are well acquainted and often exchange stories. They treasure the landmarks and frequently explore them on the weekends. But Loleta has its problems. Just like many other places, some people find the crime rate to be a little concerning. But among these stats, one case stands out, which is the mystery surrounding the remains discovered by the Eel River. On a typical day in March 1998, a Loleta resident and his son made the decision to travel to the Eel River. Residents looking for driftwood to sell frequented the river, and countless boating trips had taken place there, but none has been recorded like this one. The tranquility of the day was shattered by a terrifying sight close to Cork Robin Island, as the boat skimmed the surface of the river. The local and his son were immediately drawn to the outline of a human body, partially clothed, bouncing in the lazily flowing river. An immediate call to the local sheriff's office was made in response to the eerie sight. The sheriff's deputies arrived quickly at the scene with a jet boat. The sight was humbling. Not only was the body dead, but it also had visible signs of a protracted submersion. It was difficult to immediately identify any distinctive characteristics due to the advanced decomposition. The individual, a white adult male, had clear measurements of about 5'10" tall, 170 pounds, and a look that indicated he was between 35 and 45 years old. Because they didn't know who he was, they gave him the name Low-Letter John Doe. The medical experts estimated that the remains had been submerged for about a month after performing a thorough autopsy. A possible drowning was determined to be the cause of death. Detectives wondered what had happened to the man before that crucial moment. The sudden appearance of the John Doe from Low-Letter shocked the neighborhood, leading detectives to launch a thorough investigation into his identity. The California Department of Justice played a crucial role in these efforts earlier. They discovered a latent fingerprint during their thorough search for hints. Surprisingly, it was his fingerprint. This was a significant discovery because fingerprints left behind during decomposition typically aren't helpful. Hope grew. This might be the clue that unlocks the mystery. However, these hopes were dashed after the advanced search-through of the automated latent print system. The man's identity was still unknown because the fingerprint produced no matches. Unfazed, the investigative team enlisted the assistance of a nearby dentist. Another layer of the mystery was revealed by a forensic dental examination. However, just like with the fingerprints, no solutions were found. DNA was the final frontier as the process of elimination continued. It was hoped that the man's genetic makeup would eventually assign him a name. Two significant databases, the National Unidentified Persons DNA Index and the California Missing Persons DNA Database, each received a meticulously collected DNA sample from the remains. In order to cast a wider net, the case's specifics were painstakingly entered into the NamUs under the designation UP 54357. This DNA profile was periodically compared with missing person and other human remains profiles in the CODIS combined index system. The search turned up nothing, though. There was no matches to any profiles. The identity of Low-Letter John Doe remained cloaked in mystery. The enthusiasm of the initial investigation started to wane as the months and years passed. Cases involving missing persons are never really closed by nature. They're often reminders of unresolved cold cases. However, it is a fact that some trails become cold. This case of the Low-Letter John Doe appeared to be settling into the icy realm of the unsolved, despite the tenacious pursuit and the efforts of seasoned investigators. But then, in December 2022, which was 24 years later, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. They collaborated with the cutting-edge forensic genealogy lab named Offram Inc. The goal was straightforward but ambitious. Use cutting-edge DNA techniques to cut through the darkness and identify the enigmatic man, or at the very least find a close relative. The detectives sent a DNA sample from the preserved remains to Offram with the aid of Roads to Justice funding. The researchers painstakingly constructed an extensive DNA profile using state-of-the-art forensic-grade genome sequencing. Once put together, this DNA profile was given to Offram's knowledgeable genealogy team. They started piecing together the man's history using forensic genetic genealogy and looked for leads that could lead to an explanation. In 2023, the cloud of doubt that had been hanging over the John Doe case from Low-Letter started to lift. A revelation that came about in the middle of February provided many people with the sense of closure they had been fervently seeking. Offram sent a report to the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office. The meticulously crafted DNA profile identified one person as Jeffrey Todd Sido. It appeared as though John Doe was starting to speak after a long period of silence. But there was more to the report than just a name. Links to a network of genetic relatives were soon revealed. A potential sister named Cheryl, who lived in Missouri, was prominently mentioned. Investigators from the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office got in touch with Cheryl in an effort to fill in the gaps in this intricate puzzle. The contact caused the mystery to further clarify itself. Cheryl confirmed her ties to Loletta John Doe after being shocked by what she had learned. She admitted that Jeffrey Todd Sido was her brother, but the story she spun had a melancholy undertone. For unknown reasons, Jeffrey had cut off all contact with the family around the middle of the 1990s. Despite their strength, a family's ties had been broken in some way. Cheryl made every effort to bridge this gap, but she was unable to track down or reunite with Jeffrey. Given the ambiguity surrounding Jeffrey's intentions, whether he had chosen to distance himself or if other forces were at work, this added another level of complexity. They never made a formal report of his disappearance. In many ways, his fate had been shrouded in mystery for so long due to the lack of such a report. However, the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office had a chance after receiving Othrum's report. Now they could directly contrast Jeffrey's latent fingerprint with the unidentified fingerprints. The comparison created a sense of anticipation, but it didn't take long for things to become clear. The prints were identical. The name Jeffrey Todd Sido was finally given to the John Doe from Loletta. Mixed feelings of relief and sorrow were triggered by the revelation. Jeffrey's story, once tattered and disjointed, was starting to build up. However, it was a bittersweet occasion for his family, particularly Cheryl. Finally, they had access to the solutions they had been seeking. Jeffrey Todd Sido was a real person with goals, aspirations, and experiences that made him who he was. He was not just a name in a cold case file. Jeffrey was born in 1963, but very little is known about his early years. His parents' exact names and the location of his birth are unknown, which heightens the mystery surrounding his life story. What we do know, however, paints a picture of a person who, like many others, traveled through life's ups and downs. Maybe he pursued his passions with zeal, or maybe he had quiet moments to himself to think about the bigger issues in life. The lack of specifics allows our imagination to wander, allowing us to picture Jeffrey engaging in commonplace activities, giggling at a joke, or just taking in a peaceful sunset. The family, understandably distraught upon learning Jeffrey's identity, used their sorrow to pay tribute to him in the best way they knew how. After being separated from Jeffrey for such a long time, they were now given the difficult but necessary task of bringing him home. They started coordinating with the coroner's office of Humboldt County to work out the specifics of releasing Jeffrey's remains. The Sido family decided to bury Jeffrey with his deceased relatives. As they gathered, holding on to one another for support and vigor, there was a tangible sense of unity. With a gesture of love, respect, and a profound sense of closure, they hoped to give Jeffrey a dignified send-off. The California Department of Justice, DNA Lab, Othram, and the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office worked tirelessly to bring the Sido family some much-needed closure. They worked exceptionally well together to solve this mysterious case and to determine what happened to Jeffrey Todd Sido. The Humboldt County Sheriff's Office continues to collaborate closely with Othram and the California Department of Justice, acknowledging the value of cutting-edge DNA technology. Together, they are going over a number of cold cases in an effort to shed light on those which are still cloaked in mystery. There are still some pieces needed to complete the picture of Jeffrey's tragic death. Mike Fridley, the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office cold case investigator, is still in charge of these inquiries. If anyone has information about Jeffrey's actions or whereabouts in the days before his tragic death, they are urged to get in touch with him. His direct number is 70744130024. Your bit of knowledge, no matter how small, could be the missing piece that gives another family waiting for answers closure. Keep in mind that it is our responsibility as a group to support one another and see that justice is done. Do you believe that there is still more to learn about Jeffrey's case? What do you think caused his tragic outcome? Post your comments to let us know what you think. We value your opinion and would like to hear from you. For more cold cases, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.